And a very good morning, Simon.
Morning, Marty. How are you?
I'm very well. Yourself?
Yeah, I'm good, apart from my team not winning again.
2-2 draw.
Another wasted night's sleep.
well, I got a nice surprise when I woke up today to see Brentford have beaten Bournemouth 2-1 away. So that was a good win, and these teams are very close with each other on the ladder, aren't they? So that is a good win for Brentford.
Yeah, it's quite the scrap, to be honest, for the remaining European places. At the moment, it reads in fourth place Chelsea, 28 games played, 49 points. Fifth, Man City, 29 played, 48. And then there's two clubs on 47, Newcastle and Brighton. And Villa, Bournemouth, Fulham and Brentford going down as low as 11, really. None of them are out of that European race, either for the Champions League or the lower competitions, Europa League, Conference League. So it's going to be a race to the finish. And as you rightly say, Brentford did it again on the road. That's the fifth consecutive away win now for the Bees, who, of course, damaged Bournemouth's hopes into the process. They had to come from behind. Vitaly Janelt scoring an early own goal to give the Cherries the lead. But Brentford roaring back. They've got great spirit, got good players as well. Johan Wissa with his 14th of the season. Christian Norgard with the winner. And Bournemouth have a poor record against Brentford. They've never beaten the Bees in the Premier League. So they're having a bit of a dip, 4 without a win. That's coming at the wrong time of the season. And just gives Brentford a little bit of a sniff of that, top 6 at the very least.
Let's go back to the game you started with, Man City and Brighton, 2-2.
Yeah. Oh, dear. Same old story. City stumbling again, twice holding the lead. But in fairness, Brighton were good value. They could have even won it, to be honest. Erling Haaland with a penalty, giving City the lead, his 21st of the season. Omar Marmoush had been fouled. But even at that early point in the game, Brighton had forced a couple of good chances. No surprise when they levelled. Brilliant free kick from Pervis Estupiñán, although I've got a few question marks against Stefan Ortega. I think his positioning and certainly his movement was lacking. And then City back in front again. Marmoush also one off the post. And then Brighton levelled within 2 minutes of the restart. An own goal from Abdulkadir Kusanov, putting the ball in his own net, trying to cut out a Jack Hinchelwood effort. He was guilty in playing the Brighton player onside in the first place as well. And then really from that point on, it could have been a win for either team. Nico Gonzalez hit the post from close range, really should have scored for City. And then Carlos Baleba ballooning the ball over the crossbar from 10 yards out when he was put clean through by Joao Pedro. So in the end, a draw, probably about the right results. City stay in fifth, but miss the chance to leapfrog Chelsea, who don't play until later today. And Brighton still in the race as well.
So Everton left it very late to get a 1-1 draw against West Ham at home.
Yeah, Jake O'Brien with a stoppage time equaliser. David Moyes up against his former club, of course, with whom he won the UEFA Conference League, West Ham United. And I still wonder whether West Ham fans are a bit ruining the fact that they let him go, because he's done such a good job with Everton. They're now 17 points clear of the bottom 3. They were in real relegation trouble when he took over. But that's 9 games unbeaten now. And as I said, they had to leave it late. Thomas Souček with the opening goal for West Ham, who are also struggling down at the bottom, but they're going to be okay as well. They're 5th from bottom, but they're also 17 points clear of the relegation zone. So neither team is going to have to worry about dropping into the Championship next season. But it's an indication of how David Moyes has turned things around for Everton. You know, in recent months, that would have been a game that they'd have lost. So to get a point was a good outcome in the end for the Toffees.
Okay, Notts Forest away. They're having a terrific season. Led 3-0 at half-time before beating Ipswich Town 4-2.
Aren't they having a great season? And, they've got to be strong favourites now to claim that third place. They are 5 points clear of Chelsea in 4th, 6 ahead of Man City in 5th. And as we understand it, 5th will probably be enough to get a Champions League spot this season. Don't ask me how they work it out, but it's all to do with coefficients and fair play, and England is at the top of that at the moment. So 5th will be good enough for the Champions League, and I think Forest are going to make it comfortably. This was a routine win on the road. Nikola Milenkovic with the opener. Result never really in doubt after that. Anthony Elanga scored the first of a double 2 minutes later. As you rightly say, 3-0 at half-time. Ipswich rallied a bit in the second half. Jens Kajusta reducing arrears. Jota Silva restoring the 3-goal cushion. George Hurst with a late consolation. Ipswich remaining the only club in England without a win in the calendar year of 2025 and seemingly destined for the drop. But Forest absolutely flying on the back of that win against my boys last week as well.
Yeah, they are. They're going particularly well. And it's great to see, isn't it? Notts Forest up there, as you said, locked in third at the moment. But down the other end of the table, Southampton right on the bottom and Wolves just above relegation and led 2-0 before Southampton got one late. But away win to Wolves 2-1.
Yeah, I think we can put a line through Southampton. They've gained only 9 points all season. To be honest, I think their target is to avoid setting a new record, which is currently held by Derby County many years ago, who gleaned only 11 points throughout the entire season in being relegated. That's the lowest total in Premier League history. But at the moment, you just can't see where Southampton's next point is coming from, let alone win. This was their 24th defeat in 29 matches. Jakob Strand-Larsen was Wolves' hero, a double that moves them 9 points clear of the bottom three. They look to be okay. Paul Onuachu with a late consolation for Southampton, but that's 9 consecutive home defeats for them. And Wolves have had a good run under their new manager, Vitor Pereira, 10 points in their last 6. They're virtually safe. But Southampton will be in the Championship next season.
Well, let's have a look at these games coming our way. They get underway 9:30 p.m. per time. Arsenal-Chelsea. Arsenal $1.84, draw 3.50. Chelsea 4.50.
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting one because it's a London derby and Chelsea have got a lot to play for. They'll be encouraged by the fact that Manchester City couldn't win, that Bournemouth lost. They're in fourth at the moment, but they're in a bit of an indifferent patch of form, winless in their last 6 away games. Cole Palmer's struggling at the moment, not quite able to find his early season form. So I'd be tempted to sort of lean towards Arsenal, for whom this really is the last chance to learn if they're going to have any chance of catching Liverpool at the top. Liverpool in Carabao Cup final action against Newcastle this weekend, so it's a chance for them to make up a bit of ground. They played in the Champions League, of course, this week, got through fairly comfortably. They've got Real Madrid to come in the quarterfinals in that competition. So now is the time for them to refocus on the Premier League, and they've got to win this one. I have a feeling that they will, but it'll be close, and a narrow 1-0 win or something like that, I think, for Arsenal.
So we'll put him in at $1.84. Then Fulham, they're at home at Craven Cottage, $1.98, draw 3.60, and Spurs 3.70.
I think there's some value in the draw in this one. Another London derby. Again, Tottenham are coming off the back of a big European night during the week. Probably a result that might have even saved Ange Postecoglou's job, to be honest, defeating AZ Alkmaar in the second leg of that Europa League. So they're through to the last 8, where they'll play Eintracht Frankfurt, but their league form remains horribly patchy. They had a come-from-behind draw against Bournemouth last time out. Fulham are equally in a bit of a uneven run of form, just 1 win in their last 7 at home. 4 of those have been draws, though, and that's the result I'm tipping. I think this might be a high-scoring draw. Neither team is particularly strong defensively. Fulham not yet quite out of the race for a European spot, so they've got something to play for. But I think they're too leaky defensively. Ditto Spurs. I think there's some value in that $3.60. I think it was, wasn't it? Or 70.
Yep, 360. So I can't believe I'm saying this. This is final game. Leicester, who are 19th, are playing Man U, who are 15th. Just let that one rattle around in your brain for a bit. Leicester 440, draw 365, and Man U $1.81.
Yeah, I think they've got it right with that one. Even though Manchester United are having a terrible season by their standards, Leicester have dropped off a cliff over the last few months. Ruud van Nistelrooy, of course, took over. They sacked Steve Cooper, but he hasn't been able to arrest the slide. They've lost 12 of their last 13, the Foxes. the last 5 without even scoring a goal. So if Manchester United can't win against Leicester City, then there is a real issue at Old Trafford. And we know that there are big issues, but I don't think they're quite as acute as the ones currently facing Leicester. Again, the only slight caveat to that is that United are coming off the back of Europa League action during the week where they defeated Real Sociedad. But I think they'll be good enough to get the win today. Sorry, Leicester.
Let's go to A-League. What a game this was Friday night. And Adelaide, they have to get back on the winning book, don't they? So Adelaide 4, Macarthur 5. Amazing game. Then yesterday, Western Sydney came from behind to beat Melbourne Victory 4-2. And Perth Glory 1, Brisbane Roar 3.
Yeah, fair few goals around this weekend. That game between Adelaide and Macarthur was absolute carnage and epitomises Adelaide's season, to be honest. They just cannot win at home. Score plenty of goals, but concede for fun. And, I mean, it could have even been a first-ever 5-5 draw towards the end of that game. And they've dropped to the bottom of the top 6. They were Auckland's closest challengers for quite a lengthy period, but they've fallen away a bit. Big win that for Macarthur. And they'll be encouraged by the fact they scored some goals as well because they've lost half a forward line during the January transfer window. So that just about keeps them in contention. Last night we had a similar sort of a game between Western Sydney Wanderers and Melbourne Victory, who will be on the plane home this morning just wondering how they've left with nothing because really they should have won that game. 2-0 up after 41 minutes. Valupile and Piscopo, 2 great finishes, but the Wanderers are made of sterner stuff these days, and Alan Stadic's changes off the bench really proved to be the difference. Milanovic and Antonsen, 2 of those players who were late subs, both scoring 2 great goals. So the Wanderers up to 3rd, and Victory all of a sudden looking over their shoulders, down in 5th, and they've played a game more than the clubs around them as well. Down at the bottom, Perth, unfortunately, have slumped to last once again. They were wooden spooners, of course, last season. This was the battle of the basement against Raw. They got the perfect start. Absolutely brilliant goal from Luke Amos, but couldn't maintain that early dominance. Boubacar and then a double from Sam Klein, giving Brisbane just their 2nd win of the season, and Gloria back down at the bottom.
3 Sunday games. Let's go through these. Auckland, $1.43. Draw, $4.50. Central Coast Mariners, $6.40.
Yeah, I can't offer you any value in that one, I'm afraid. The Mariners, they just look as though they can't wait for their season to end. They called that game against Melbourne Victory last week, and they were dreadful. Auckland will be too good, particularly at home. They only need 4 wins from their last 7 to become the first ever New Zealand team to win a trophy in the Australian National Leagues. I think they'll get one of those wins today. How
good is that? Now, Newcastle Jets, they're $2.90, draw $3.50. Western United, $2.23.
Yeah, this is an interesting one. You'd look at the table and think, well, that's a Western United win for all money. But Newcastle are having a really good late season run. 7 matches unbeaten. In fact, they haven't lost since they lost to Western United away in mid-January. So they've still got a little bit of a glimmer of hope that they might make the top 6. This is a tough test for them today. Western United are one of the surprise packages this season, and they've got a lot of goals in their team, particularly their front 2 of Ibasuki and Noah Botic, who's the Golden Boot race leader with 10. So I wouldn't be surprised if that one ends in a draw at McDonald Jones Stadium today.
And the final game at 4 p.m. Perth time, Sydney FC $1.36, 5.10 draw, Wellington $7. Favourites win here?
Yeah, I'm afraid so. Wellington are another club that have dropped off a cliff, lost their last 4, haven't been able to score goals all season. This will be their worst run if they were to lose today since 2019, which is quite the drop-off considering they finished 2nd last season. Sydney on a bit of a high, of course, into the Asian Champions League 2 semi-finals for the first time after beating John Book Moses during the week. They're on an 8-match unbeaten run in all competitions. Scoring goals for fun, Klamala, Costa, Lolly, Segacic, all contributing. I think Sydney will be too good.
Okay, I'm just working out our multi, our 6-legger. It's $81.60, and it goes like this. Arsenal, $1.84. The draw, $3.60. Man U, $1.81. Auckland, $1.43. Draw, $3.50 there for Jets and United. And Sydney, $1.36. $81.60. Let's see if we can get them upset, Simon.
Let's see if I got them all right.
Always good to chat. We'll do it again next week.
Cheers, Marty. Have a good week, mate.
He's a ripper, Simon Hill, and he opens the batting every Sunday on the Aftermath. About to catch up with Sul now. It is 25 minutes past 6 o'clock. Currently here in Perth, 17.6 degrees. And James Sullivan joins us. Very good morning.
Hello, Marty. How are you? Hello, listeners.
I'm very well. Now, Sul, it's been a little weekend of upsets in the NRL.
I tell you what, the weather's come out. It's nice and warm and having the upsets. But I love the fact, and I hear a bloke like Michael Maguire last night, and he just said, well, if you don't turn up, look what happens. And basically, we go back to Friday night. Ivan Cleary said exactly the same about his Penrith side. He said, we didn't turn up. He said, I thought we were gone before we ran on the field. So got to turn up, and it has been a total round of upsets. And as we know, well, the Knights-Dolphin game Thursday night, that was one of those ones you could have gone either way. But obviously, when the Knights led 20-6 at half-time, they went on with it. But then Friday, didn't it start?
Carnage.
Oh, but at the end of the day, Marty, it's good carnage. Because we wanted to see a response from the Warriors. Over there at home, we knew, as we said on Friday afternoon, they were only 4 from 10 last year at home. So it's such an important game for them. And when Tommy Trbojevic scored early, I thought, here we go. It's going to be whitewash. But then, to be fair, the Warriors got their game going. They led 18-6 at half-time and just went on with it. That was the key. So big win. A little bit of concern there for the Sea Eagles. Obviously, Daly Cherry Evans comes off with back spasms. Not getting any younger, is DCE. They think he'll be okay, though. They reckon he'll play this week. The other bloke, Tom Trbojevic, is, the old hamstring. He's had 7 hamstring injuries in the last 7 years. It's becoming a concern. Yeah,
it is. And the older you get, the worse it gets. That's the case. Now, what about this next game? We spoke about this on Drive Friday. 24.5 was the start here, and the punters were taking it. They thought Panthers would win this game by 25, and they got beat by the Roosters 38-32.
Amazing game of footy, and the amazing thing about it was 18 all at half time, and I think, we all thought, I'll just get into the gear and I'll just roll away. But, it's amazing when you hear blokes say it's the greatest win in our club's history. And that's coming out of the mouth of James Tedesco. To say how good... And that's the way they felt. And I know we had a bit of fun on Friday afternoon with Mark Nwanga-Nitawasi, right? We had a bit of fun with his name. I tell you what, he is really just fitted into that centre position, that left centre position for the Roosters. He grabbed one himself. He set 2 up for Daniel Tupou outside of him. I know people are going to have to start saying his name because he was very good. And, Roosters they really ruffled, excuse the pun, the feathers of the Panthers. So, good win that. Real good win.
Well, the upsets continued on Saturday. Rabbitohs away against the Dragons, getting up in a nail-biter, 25-24.
Yeah, unbelievable. Dragons led 14-12 at half-time down at Wollongong, as you know, and all of a sudden this Rabbitohs side, people can say what they like about him. Wayne Bennett, he's turned up. They've lost a few in the off-season. They didn't have Jack White the other day. Yesterday, and they, honestly, all of a sudden, bang, they win 2 in a row. The amazing thing was, if people get the opportunity, watch the Jamie Humphries field goal in the 75th minute. It broke down, the ball hit the deck. Avili's just got it and said, here, to young Humphries, and then no pressure at all from the Dragons defenders. He just dropped it on the left boot and it went bang. Oh, couldn't believe it. And still 5 to go. But that's the importance of it. And all of a sudden now South, as I said, we said at the top, they had the toughest draw in 2025. We said a few weeks ago. All of a sudden, they've got another tough 3 weeks. But the key is they're 2 from 2.
Yeah, a quick start was imperative for them. Now, another team that you isolated and identified was the Sharks. You thought they were going to have a big season. It's starting off well for them. They win away against the Cowboys, are really struggling, 36-12.
Yeah, well, their record up there is unbelievable. The Sharks, it was, they went up there. There's one team that they go up there and they'd be feeling pretty confident about themselves. And they, as you said, the Cowboys, I think it's going to be a long year, Marty, to be totally honest. And that one where I just said that stat before last night, the Cowboys had only won 2 of their last 14. So it's 2 from their last 15 now against this Sharks side. Sharks were good. They look good, Braden Trindle. And then all of a sudden, he cops a bit, doesn't he, Nico Hines? But gee whiz, he was good last night. The combination with Trindle and Nico Hines could be so important. Adam Canua-Blake, once again, very, very good. But as I just said then, I think this Cowboys side, they're going to be it's going to be a tough year by the looks of it. And amazingly, people say, where's Jason Taumalolo? Well, I'll tell you where he is. He's playing for the Mackay Cutters today in the Q Cup.
Wow.
So obviously he'll need the run, but he hasn't played for Mackay for a long, long time. But yeah, Sharks fan, that sets it up beautifully next week. They take on the Rabbitohs. So that could be an interesting game.
So this rounds it out on Saturday action. It was your boys, the Canberra Raiders, 32, Broncos 22. Tell us about this upset.
Honestly, it was, and they belted the Broncos. Corey Horsburgh, everybody loves a redhead. We know that. Mate, he is off his head. Fair dinkum, he just belted, just kept every time they made the hit on Hetherington. Unbelievable, rattled, and all of a sudden, it was like, and Marty, we all love Ricky Stewart. We love his passion. When we see him on the sideline, we know something's on, don't we?
Yep.
And what about Matt Nicholson, the English back rower? Thought he was playing on the bench, got started, scores on debut in the 7th minute of the game. He says, I haven't had enough yet. He scores again in the 37th minute. 2 tries on debut. And you know what he did in the Super League, Marty? Scored 2 tries on debut in that as well.
Yeah, okay. So one to follow, Nicholson.
And then, as you said, at 16-10 at half-time, I still thought, geez, the Broncos are still in this. But same enthusiasm. That's a big win. A big win at home, and the crowd, enormous. 20,000, rocking the joint.
Looking forward to, obviously, racing yesterday and out last night. It's been a bit hard to catch up with everything, but I'll be doing all the replays later on today. 2 games to go forward here today. Now, the Parramatta Eels are $2.20, West Tigers are $1.66, the line 3.5, and then the Bulldogs are $1.41, Titans $2.88, and the line at 7.5. How are we getting $1 today?
Well, we all know what happened last week, and people will go, the Eels got blown. They got blown away in the first 40 minutes. They won the second half against the Storm. They won the second half 12-10. At the end of the day, that's the way it goes. They've won 10 of their last 12 over West Tigers. Happy Curacao comes back into that side, though, and Jerome Buller, which I like for West Tigers. And it's one of those games, the last time they met, Marty, was the old Spoon Bowl. Remember last game last year to see who could win the wooden spoon. But I'm going to go to Tigers. It's one of those ones. The line's about -3.5, I think. So I'll go the Tigers. The second game, it's a late one. It's going to be 37 degrees here in Sydney today, Marty.
Wow.
And that's that kickoff. I'm calling one at 1, and it's 37 degrees at 1 o'clock. So that's, it's going to be warm conditions. The second one, the Bulldogs play their only game at Belmore Oval in 2025. And they'll take on a side we haven't seen yet in the Gold Coast Titans, who I think all set it up for a good game. But Bulldogs won 3 of their last 4 against them. So I think, and the last time they met was back in round 3 last year. It was 32-0 the Bulldogs. So I'm more than happy to go there. And I think we'll have 3 plays, Marty, just for a bit of fun.
Okay, let's go.
Why not? Let's go. So at the line, I'll go West Tigers -3.5. The Bulldogs are -7.5. We'll get 3.38 for that.
Yep.
And then score a try any time. Jerome Buller and for the West Tigers. And the Bulldogs Viliami kick out. Now, there's a little report going yesterday. He might not play, but if he plays, I think he scores at 6.32.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if we go those same 2 blokes, Marty,
Yep.
at the same game combo, so Tigers to win, Buller to score, in the Bulldogs to win, kick out a score, $11.38.
Sounds pretty good to me, Sal. Now, I've got a few. Now, Jeff Bailey wanted to say hello. He was having a big day with Newcastle winning, so he was up and about yesterday.
Yeah, Bales loves his nights. He's a big Ponga man. He loves the old Kalen Ponga. And him and Michael Radley, I think they're the 2 big Knight supporters in Perth, trust me.
He was following Hutchie's honkers tips in Sha-Tin there yesterday. He was 5 from 5. So Bales was just filling up. Yeah.
Oh.
Hey, I know someone else who filled up Friday night, the meat raffle. What happened there?
Oh, wow, that was a lovely night, wasn't it? I actually bought a couple of tickets at 2 establishments and won one in each.
Oh, did you really? So we got sausages in the mail.
Mate, I tell you what we got. We got 2 sons that live in Sydney who got their fridges full yesterday morning.
Hey, that's great. And I hope you got a little esky when you're calling there today. 1 o'clock, 37 degrees, just a couple of little coldies on the way through.
Well, no, I've got to drive back to Canberra tonight, mate.
Oh, well.
So we'll just... I've got the Parramatta and Magpies reserve grade game, so should be fun.
All the best, Sol. We'll talk again on Friday and we'll listen in on Thursday morning on the Sports Daily.
Stay safe, everyone.
Racing and sport from different angles. You are listening to The Aftermath on Tab Radio Racing and Sport.
Morning, Chris Nelson.
Good morning, Marty.
Hey, you were tipping all right yesterday on the Gold Coast. Well done. Grafter Burners and what was your other best bet there? Hey Molly. Hey Molly got the. That's Molly. Sorry, $4.20.
Yeah, and a couple of unlucky ones too, Marty. But we'll keep those for next time. Okay.
What about Rose Hill Racing yesterday? Tell us overall the win of the Coolmore. Let's start there. Lady Shenandoah. She is flying.
She is, and look, she keeps running these really quick times. She's a strange one to work out. I mean, she's winning these races, but there always seems to be one or two that probably could have won with better luck. And certainly Lady of Camelot, once again, I thought was a massive run because they've gone so quick in this race. And she's out there 3 wide, no cover. Lady Shenandoah's got her back, so she's got the last crack at her. But she did a great job once again. Look, Lady Shenandoah and Firestorm had the better of her very late, so I don't think she'd won any further than 1,500, probably not even 1,400. But, wow, that was a huge run. Firestorm, well, I mean, first up winner of the Millie Fox, then comes from the back of the field here, suited by the tempo. So we'll need further going forward, but we know Firestorm is a mare that will get out over further. That's where her best form is. So that's going to be a very, very strong form race. What I'm looking forward to is seeing Lady Shenandoah hopefully one of these days take on Autumn Glow, who is the other star from the stable. So great race, great result, 2 really good runs behind the winner.
What'd you make of Amelia's Jewel?
Look, on the inside probably wasn't the place to be. She didn't offer a lot in the straight, but I don't think even if she was on the outside she would have matched it with those others. Yourself?
Yeah, I didn't like her going in, 58 kilos, giving, I know Lady Shenandoah and Lady Camelot are 3-year-olds and they're drawn wide. But I thought they were the 2 you had to start with in the race, and I thought Amelia's Jewel would find it hard to beat those 2 at the weights anyhow. Yeah. Talking about it with a good weights man yesterday before the race, and Elsafina, she's just not up to them for mine, and, good luck for having a go. I agree with you. They've run 127.38, if you don't mind, punters, 33.91 the run home, and Firestorm, wow, wasn't it just motoring?
I tell you, another bound or two, Firestorm wins the race, which would have been a bit of an upset for sure. And only $14, but I certainly didn't have her in the mix. Okay,
let's go back to the Pago. Last chance to get in. And not only has Skyhook led 1 by 3.5 and gone in, it's about $8 now for the Golden Slipper. Second or third line of betting. I did get a text on that Retrovision text line. Where is that from? Brian. Can Skyhawk win the Slipper? I thought I'd share that with you. I don't think Skyhawk can. Your thoughts?
I think he's thereabouts.
Okay.
I don't know whether he can, but it's one of those years, and I keep saying it every week, nothing's really standing out. There's good runs, and I know Ballazane, one of yours, was a good run now. The one that I've actually, and I digress a little here, the one that I've got on times is last week's winner, Tempted. It's the one that has the better time than anything, but they went like the clappers in that race. So
it's the one
again.
From Ballazane's point of view, I'm worried about Tempted. I'll be saving.
They go really hard and Tempted, close enough. She's a big chance. But look, Skyhook, tempo to suit. Went forward yesterday, took any bad luck out of the equation. We know had bad luck last start. Sprinted away from him in the straight. Now, the Beaten Brigade, well, I don't know that they're that good. United States was better. He was restrained to the back of the field. He was second last and in a bit of a dash home. He was good running on the inside section, which wasn't the ideal spot during the day. They didn't head that way, most of the jockeys. So United States was a good run. Barbarossa held up out the back of the field, was a rough chance anyway, but probably should have finished closer. Skyhook, look, doing everything right. It just keeps improving with every single run. So there may be a big leap to come into the slipper. Who knows?
Could be. This is the first time in these lead-ups where we've had the males v the females that the males have actually run quicker than the females. I don't think they ran that quicker time, though, 1:10.54, and the girls ran 1:10.6. We get to the Magic Night. It was Memo from back in the field from that wide draw, beating Dreamside, Alabama Magic, and Strata Verena, I thought, a bit disappointing.
Yeah, well, they only came off a Canterbury win, and leading around Canterbury is a lot different than winning one of these lead-ups to the slipper. So I wasn't. I thought it was a bit short in the market. But you talk about the times; they would both run again. We've had this so often. Both divisions were run in completely different race shapes. Mm-hmm. This was more of a plenty of speed on early, which allowed Memo to get home over the top of them late. So Memo was good, but we'll need plenty of tempo on in the slipper. We know he's very consistent. Artistic Venture. Never, ever on the track, but we're still quite good through the line, and I'm not sure whether they're going to keep going with that one or how far they're going to go, but don't sack Artistic Venture. Dreamside was good. Now, there's one out the back there, and I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago, Karinska. Chris Waller, Tommy Berry here. No way 1,200 metres can win a race, but gee, once we get to 1,400 metres and beyond, you watch out for this one, Karinska, and have a look at the way he finished off yesterday, just cruising to the line, beaten 4.49 lengths officially. So, yep, not sure what to make of it. I don't think the slipper winner's in it, but I'm going to follow Karinska.
How about the Sky High Stakes, 2,000 metres, and Vauban, first start for Waterhouse Bot, gets the money, beats Arapahoe and Lindemann.
Fair form line too, coming out of the Melbourne Cup, beaten about 5 lengths. Failed twice in Melbourne Cups, if you can call them dead set failures, but very good, too good for our stayers. And they've run home, or sweated up badly, he ran home 11.09 his last 200 metres. So he's really dashed over the top of Arapahoe late. He was very good. He'll go to the Tancred in 2 weeks. He was just terrific. I wouldn't be tipping against him, against these horses again. Lindemann had his chance. Land Legend, they all had their chance in the race. So all honours with the winner, Vauban.
Oh, it's a fast run race. They ran just over 2 minutes, but home in 33.98 for the 2,000. And he was just far too strong late. Great to see. Rapt about that. We talked to Ray Hickson doing the tips yesterday, and he said just watch Vauban in the mounting yard beforehand. If he sweats up and gets a bit irritated, he could be a risk. So you're saying he did sweat up?
He did, yeah. He sweated up badly. And it was mid-30s in Sydney yesterday. So that's not the sort of weather that he's going to be used to. It didn't seem to worry him yesterday, but once he gets out over further, he's going to be harder to beat.
Yeah, they went with what did they go with? Earmuffs pre-race only, blindfold, tongue-tie and crossover noseband. So there was a few little gear changes that they made with Vauban and appeared to have worked. The Far Lap Stakes, Lazura was double-nommed. Chris Waller found the right race. Beats Wonder Boy and Delici Boulevard. I know it's one of ours, but I thought it was way too short at 2:35, 2:40.
Well, I can tell you, Marty, the tail of this race was the tempo in the race. They absolutely dawdled. I reckon you and I could have carried you, and we probably still would have beaten them.
Well,
Lazura had a lovely run. Go on.
Now, where are we going? I think it's Mininu. They've got a carry your partner race. So if that's the case, you might have to come. We'll go there. You can carry me in the race.
I reckon we'll run a quicker first 900 metres than these ones did.
They've run 3 seconds slow. They've run 3 seconds slower than the Coolmore.
They've run 32.73 home. So how is Delici Boulevard going to run over the top of those? So don't sack her. She was quite good. She was 6-7 lengths off them. Tempo was just gave her no hope whatsoever. And I'll be happy to pot Lazura next time. I actually had a query that Lazura wouldn't run a strong 1,500 metres. Well, she ran 1,500, but how strong was it? I don't know. I'll see how we go next time. But I would take Delici Boulevard over the top of Lazura next time, as long as there's a decent tempo. The other one there, Moving Out, was quite good against the tempo as well. This is one of the Kiwis that Chris Waller's got. Big watch on it. So I would follow Moving Out and Delici Boulevard out of that race.
Now, our man, Brad Hardie, he'd have the main Nicholas truck out the front. He'd have that much money. Eagle Nest, Rachel King, beats Time to Boogie and Pisanello.
Yeah, well, he had plenty of cash when Skyhook won, and now he's got Eagle's Nest home.
Correct.
So, Yeah, he would be swimming in it. Headed by Time to Boogie at the 100-metre mark. Looked as though Time to Boogie was going on for the win, and Eagle Nest off the canvas was a good, strong win. So all honours to the winner, Eagle Nest. Time to Boogie had its chance. Pisanello closed off well. I'd be keen to follow up next start with it, doing its best work late.
First up, and then we go to the Ajax Stakes 1500, and Bjorn Baker were watching this race yesterday, and it looked like it was going to be headed. It looked like it was struggling to get past Willado, and I said he'll get there. These Baker horses in tight finishes, they just fine.
They do, and look, there was a query about Iona Merck running a strong 1,500 metres. It was the first time been up to that trip. But, look, from the gate was always going to get a soft run, and strong late, as you mentioned, to run down Willado, who looked as though he was going to hold on. There was a nice run here, west of Africa. I know he's always getting back and running on, and he catches the eye, but he was quite good finishing off against what was not a sprint home, but the tempo did favour those up on front, which we saw with the results. So west of Africa was good. Ducasse probably needs a softer track. Freedom Rally didn't run on. Redina's a disappointment. There's a few in that race you don't really want to go near for a future viewpoint.
Zach Lloyd got 10 days on... Sorry, mate.
He did, yeah.
10 days on Willado, and he won't take it until the 23rd of March, obviously, with that'll be after the Golden Slipper.
Yep, exactly the case. Smart move. When you can do that, why not do it? So he's got a big chance next week. He's going to have a massive book of rides, is Zach Lloyd.
Okay, horses to follow, and then we need a winner for today. I think you've got one, haven't you?
I have.
Yeah.
Karinska out of race 4, over further. Vauban, Declici Boulevard and Moving Out. I think they were both really good runs. Pisanello and Firestorm over further out of race number 8. They're the horses to follow from Rose Hill.
Okay, we're going to the Sunshine Coast.
We are. We've got a beautiful day up here. We're on stock 5 to start with. We'll be on a good 4 before you know it. Race 1, number 3, Anyone Ready, is the good thing of the day. You won't get black figures, though, I don't think. Race 4, number 3, Lady Lucifer. And I've got one in the last, Marty. Race 9, number 9, Catral. No luck last start. Meets a bunch of walkers and has been very heavily backed already, but is still, when I last checked, was around $8 or so.
Ooh, bit of value there. So race 1, number 3, race 4, number 3, race 9, number 9. Always good to catch up, Chris. You're amazing yesterday, that form on the Gold Coast. Did you beat Nathan head-to-head?
No, I think we drew. I think we had a draw. And actually, he might have got an earlier one than I didn't. I think he did. I think he got one home earlier. So he might have actually beaten me. So he'll be on next week. I won't be.
All right. We'll listen in on Wednesday morning. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, Marty.
You're listening to the Sunday Aftermath on Tab Radio Racing and Sport.
Yes, get those texts in on the Retrovision text line 0427 789 571. They're mainly all football coming in, so we'll hold them back for Brad Hardie and discuss them after 7 o'clock. Racetrack, Ralphy, a very good morning.
Good morning, Marty. Now, just quickly about footy, because I know we're going to talk racing, but how good was the pre-season Nick Dacos must have done over the last 7 days?
Yeah.
Because obviously last week he was unfit, so he's done a full pre-season in the last 7 days.
Yeah.
Well done.
Oh, yeah. And the Pies bounce back was something to behold as well. What a win that was. Everyone thought
but I just think they looked a lot faster and younger when they had the ball.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, we want to just touch on Pride of Jenny and the win in the Peter Young, but John Kanga, the chairman, I absolutely love this, and the promotion was if Pride of Jenny wins, everyone gets a free drink. You walked into Caulfield, they gave you a voucher, and you were able to use that if she won. I just got a lot of airplay, and he did a fantastic job and a great marketing ploy.
100%. And what is wrong with doing that every week? And that is not being a narc about it. That's me saying that this is like a Black Swan event. He's now opened the door to say, all right, every week we're going to pick a horse, or you can pick a horse as a customer. Walk through and pick one of 4 horses, and if your horse wins, there's a free drink. Because the thing is with racing now, as you well know, Marty, you don't have to go to the races anymore to enjoy racing. If you're a punter and you've got all the information on your phone and on your TV, so you should be providing incentives to get people to the track and enjoy themselves and each other. It's a great social activity, and all honours there. The racing itself was okay outside of her, and we'll deep dive into her. I've got Vince Cardi's data through,
right.
But to do a promotion like that first week of the footy season and say no, come to the races. The footy will be on the big screen. And embrace everything was absolutely first class.
It was a hot day. How did the track play?
Track's played enormous, so I think they've got it right. There was, I believe, some butting of heads after the Orr Stakes when they completely overwatered the track. And the philosophy now is less is more. Don't listen to RVL's silly policy about overwatering, and that's exactly how it's going. So Blue Diamond Day played well, but there was severe headwinds, so it was hard to judge. Yesterday on a hot day, if you're good enough and fast enough, you ran time and you won.
Okay, do you want to touch on one or two? Do we go straight to three?
Well, what about we just start with Pride of Jenny, and then we can catch up on all the others, because I'm going to say I think she's back. I think she's absolutely back looking at the data. And so I'm through Vince's data, not just what we watched. She cruised around, 7.4 lengths above benchmark for those who don't follow Vince's figures. She can go 12, 14, 15. So that was just fast and really fast for most horses, and would bust open more horses. That's absolute cruising. So two things. One, first-class ride by Craig Newitt, and two, all the communication that Kira Ma put across during the week was that we wanted to kick her off at 1,800. We normally do it at 14 and 16, but this way she could do it on her terms. Well, that's exactly what's panned out. And her overall figure was terrific, even allowing for the fast track. And I don't think I can beat her in the Australian Cup unless there's a mad war between Deny Knowledge and her, because Deny Knowledge is, obviously a fast on pacer too. I don't think they can beat her in the Australian Cup.
I think Craig Newitt is the perfect jockey for Pride of Jenny, and he'll be on the show at about 7:45, so make sure you stay tuned in. Right, let's go through them.
Well, Banker's Choice won the first race. I don't think he can run 2,400, but I thought he could win yesterday because it wasn't going to be a staying test. There was just no chance whatsoever there could be any speed in this race, and there wasn't. So under this circumstance, good ride, Daniel Stackhouse, just sort of put a bit of pressure on at the 600, and he had the class from there. But I don't think he's a 2,400 horse, mostly cloudy. Conversely, they wanted to back it, but he is a 2,400 horse. He needed some speed. So I think it'd be hard to beat next start, mostly cloudy in a race of tempo.
The second, Marigold wins for Johnny Sadler. Hasn't been well. Good to see him win. And Mark Zara, the winning rider.
Yeah, great man, Sad. So they and Paradise City control the race in a modest tempo, modest figures here. Regal Vow too far back. Brazen Lady, I think maybe in hindsight, Damien Lane could have pressed forward, but ultimately I think both favourites were a bit disappointing. Oh, the Penguin struck in race 3 with the favourite. Samangu charged late. I was kicking myself here, not because jumping off Grey Beg per se, because her figure was down on what she's been doing. I think she's had enough this time in, but Miss Aria fell for it. She needs further and probably blinkers, so don't drop off her. This is going to be a strong race because Roll on High was super first up, as was She Dances, who's now back in town and can go much faster now that she's right. So Roll on High, She Dances and Miss Aria, for different reasons, I think can win next start. Ma trained Pride of Jenny brilliantly to win first up, but this training performance by Team Hayes was amazing with Tatsumaki. Yeah, and real explosion of early speed. So this would have led most Blue Diamonds. To give you some context here, that first 400 metres. So it was absolutely spent on the line. Well, that tells you it's just going to improve. So perfect way to ride a fast horse, Daniel Stackhouse, and just let it fly, and it did. So I think it's probably going to improve. You'd suggest it would, given that time off, and they'll work it out. They are just really in the zone, those boys. The one from way too far back was Barbaric Lad. Bettigal wins. Glenn Thompson has a good day in his own right. Yeah, well, she's had 3 starts in her life, not in stakes races, and she's won all 3. So that just told you, that's what you need. That class drop there, pretty modest figures here, but probably did a good job from where it was in the run. Will was spruiking winner's edge. Nick Ryan in the Gold Dash for Michael D. Yeah, and they're pretty modest tempo here. I think they probably could have injected some more speed here. Damien chose to sit on Band of Brothers, but he's just in the zone, winner's edge, and he's just got there from She's got pizzazz. This is sort of a good sign that we're changing lots of horses here, because this is basic off-season sort of stock. The $1 Million Showdown. Geez, I was surprised Kiliana was so short. I know all of the rhetoric that went with it, and this McGaw's done nothing wrong. No, not at all, and it was also a classic, 1,000 metres to 1,200. Correct. Sometimes that's a new universe. It doesn't matter how impressive you are. So it doesn't mean you can't win, but it does mean, as you say, the odds were insane. And McGaw, what a ride by Damien Lane here. So he's gone forward on a horse that's still learning, and just said, "No, I'm just going to make the others feel pain." And to confirm this is what I thought watching it. 81st best last 200 of the day. Yeah. So he was spent, and so was everything else chasing it. So that was just a perfect ride there. I think a lot of these are going to have to improve if they're going to get the stakes grade, but I don't think that worries the McCaw connections because they've got a big check.
Yeah, you're dead right about Frosty too. He's put together a fair fortnight. Race number 9, the Gold Sprint, Regal Zeus, Johnny McCardle and Stackhouse in very good form.
Yeah, well, this was like the old the Chots, wasn't it? It was sort of like a mobile start. They decided to start the race at the 400-metre mark. What were some of the riders doing here? So Regal Zeus, I think he's probably going to win again at 1400. He's not a 1200 horse, but if everyone wants to leave him alone, he will win. Bossy Nick has got a good sprint on it, but should have been closer in the run. And Nicolini Vito, I think it got out by the time it got to the float, so it'll be winning next start.
Damien Lane on Electric Bell in the last.
Yeah, just a really good ride, but basic sort of stock. So the horse we want to follow is Tatsumaki and Pida Jenny, and I think a few of those that got beaten in race 2 will be finding a win shortly.
And in all seriousness, how do you think the D's are going to go today?
I'm very bullish. Yeah, in all seriousness, I'm very, very bullish. It's raining here at the moment, and that sort of, tough as nails midfield is going to really put on the show, I think.
Racetrack Ralphy at racetrackralphy.com. That's where you get all the information. Thanks, mate. We'll do it again next week.
Good on you, Marty.
Racing and sport from different angles. You are listening to The Aftermath on Tab Radio Racing and Sport.
West Coast.
On The Aftermath, it's time to introduce the 1985 Brownlow medalist from the Footscray Football Club, Brad Hardie. Introducing the boy from Hilton, the AFL guru, Brad Hardie.
Good morning, Bradley.
Morning, Marty. Morning, Stove. Morning, listeners. Great to be with you. Don't need a Sunday save. You've got a Saturday satchel.
I'm going to say, what is that armoured vehicle out the front of your... What's it, just taking all the cash to the bank, is it?
Well, I've got Main Nicholas, Armour Guard, Fox. There's a few out the front.
Yeah.
Just slowly but surely tipping it down into the dungeon.
I've got to say, Brad, you've nailed the AFL round 1 for our punters. Apart from Gerald Ryan's performance yesterday, have a listen to this. Friday night, you got your multi in at $4. Sydney, Brisbane, $4.10. Collingwood, Port, $6.40, the multi there. And then the Dogs and Kangas, $3.95. What happened to Geelong and Fremantle?
Yeah, Mark Blixar's let me down. He had to get 15 at a quiet day, just a dozen he had yesterday. But, yeah, the same game oldies. We're just trying to help the listeners, go into the right place, give them a little bit of a run. Look, I get it. I mean, they can have their own picks if they want to pick winners and losers, but some of the teams are $1.30. I mean, Geelong yesterday were, I thought they'd win, and, I didn't think they'd win by that much. But the bottom line is that you're not getting any value out of those, in the red. So we try and find something to make them work, and we're doing it again today, mate. So there's 3 games more to tune into half an hour before the game.
Yes, and we had Brian on earlier with a text asking me, can Skyhook win the slipper? I said I don't think he can. What do you think coming out of your stable?
They're as live chances as any, King of Pop and him. I get it. You know what 2-year-olds are like in the highest order. And I don't get too... I understand the metrics and, the furlongs and times and all that. Every race is different, isn't it? You just don't know. And what we do know about the Golden Slipper is that it's pretty much a helter-skelter affair. So I think a horse like Skyhook's really, really well suited because I think he's now shown he took it before himself yesterday just to go to the front and just improve the position and did it well. Well, the time wasn't overly flattering, but you just got to do what you got to do to make sure you get in. So I think he's always going to be a horse with a sit, Brian. So and the pace will be on, and if he can get a draw and alley and get a nice suck along like everyone else, he's as good a chance as any is. And Gerald's always maintained that the Johnny Farnham, King of Pop, has been his best. So there's not much between them, to be honest. When luck in running, how often we say that? Well, never more evident than in a Golden Slipper.
Oh, that is for sure.
If you like them, back them.
Well, it gets now down to barrier draws. I think if you haven't bet by now, you've just got to wait for the barrier draws because all the fat's gone out of it. Just having a look at it, Woderton is $4.60, tempted. Off the times, they're spruiking him, and I get it, $6. Skyhook is into $8. That's the thing that... Geez, if you hadn't backed him before, you couldn't be taking $8 now. Devil Knight, $9. Within the Law, $9. Rivellino, Balazane are $11. North England. King of Pop, your other runner, is $17 and Maruna $21. The backup is the thing that worries me a little bit, Brad, with Skyhook. I remember years ago backing Sidestep at 100 to 1 to win the Slipper. He lost a rider in the Todman, and so they had to back him up in the Pago. And then he come out and he ran really well in the Slipper. He got beat by Overage and ran second. Sweet Idea was third. That's not a bad Golden Slipper. And I still believe had he run in the Todman and not backed up off the Pago, he probably nearly wins that Golden Slipper.
Yeah, I hear what you say. Look, Gerald said that the Skyhook licked the bin out last night, mate. It wasn't a tough run.
No.
He just did his own thing. He just got to the front. He said, well, no one wants to lead. I'm going to lead. And it was a nice little hit out, really. And he's a robust type. He said he's very, very good doer around. Nothing phases him. So you just got to be in it to win it.
Yeah, of course.
Have a throw at the stumps. And I remember betting pre-post many, many years ago, the horse called Show County. Absolutely pizzled down, and which never suited him. But he ran third, at 8 to 1. But yeah, we're in the double figures on both King of Pop and Skyhook in the 20s. So we're happy. At least we've got a live runner, going around.
Correct.
At unders for us next week.
Yeah, 100%. That's what I'm saying. If you're in your position or my position, that's fine. But now I think it's just a matter of case of waiting for the barrier draws and see what happens and pick them out from there. We need to get through some of these texts off that Retrovision text line, and then we're going to work through the games from Friday night till Saturday night. But morning, lads. Benny Bunbury. I may have to put my hand up for going the early crow. Pies are up and about at the G. Give Nick the Brownlow now. He's a certainty. Diggers, great start from your top four side. Absolute spuds, led by a country coach at best. I think he's the Dockers. Cheers, boys. Love your work.
Yeah, look, as we said, you always got to be. There was no happier fans on Friday morning than Collingwood fans after Carlton got beat by Richmond. And as I said, look, you have to wait. They're all in. You know that they're going to beat a lot of the teams in or around them. And I think, Marty, you're on the record, I'm on the record, thinking at Port, I'm worried about this handover, and it's only going to amplify now. But as I said, I thought they could slide out of the 8, and I had nothing to see there last night that's going to convince me otherwise either way. But Pendlebury starting on the as the sub was interesting. I'm not sure he'd be happy about that, but anyway, they've got this record they're trying to beat with the two boys, Tyson Edwards and also Andrew McLeod. 308, I think they break it next week when they play the Dogs. So I think they had that mindful there because they were all poor. Side bottom hit back 31. Memory 4. It's a false economy, folks. I'm telling you. Don't fall into it, and don't lose hope. If you like Collingwood, stay with them. If you don't like Collingwood, stay with it, because you just don't know. They're going to beat a lot of the sides in and around them, as I say. And they expect to finish on top of Port this year, and they beat them at home.
Correct. So last week, everyone's throwing the baby out with the bathwater with Collingwood. This week they're all jumping on. Just plateau it out a little bit. Here's another one from Rick from Ross Moyne, Marty and Brad. I'm home recovering from minor surgery, but as a Dockers tragic, Murphy Reid's audacious fake of Myers to kick his first goal was the most amazing debut goal I can remember. That made me laugh. The rest brought the opposite reaction. Meaning the performance of the Dockers. That is Rick from Rossmore.
Yeah, it was fantastic for the young man. Look, at half time, he was having an out-of-body experience. He couldn't get near it. He was, he was all over the shop. And it just clicked for him. It was terrific. But Fremantle played better, and Geelong do what Geelong do. They take their foot off the pedal sometimes, and, they let you, they have a look. Every team that dominates doesn't dominate for the full 110 minutes, Marty. You get that 10-minute period, and it's what damage you can do in that period of time. It was great for the young fella. I really liked it. I don't think I've seen that. I can't recall anyway where someone's kicked. I think they said from the first goal to the last goal, 6 minutes, 10 seconds, Marty.
Yeah.
So he's kicked 4 in 6 minutes and 10. I remember Daniel Metropolis kicked 4 or 5 for West Coast on debut.
7,
with his first 4 or 5 kicks. Yeah, but I think his first 4 or 5 kicks,
okay.
I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, in footy, but they were a bit more spaced than that. So well done. It was something. It was the only green shoot they had yesterday, to be honest. I mean, and I don't get it. And I know that they're going to come over the hill for him. And but here's the thing, folks. As I said, be careful what you wish for. I said that all along. And I said, here's the facts. Doesn't matter if they extended and give him a rolling contract. If they don't make the 8, he will not be there.
Correct.
If they do make the 8, he lives to fight another day.
And nor he should.
That's what's going to happen. Yep. But it might be over, or they might be convinced earlier, or they might be over earlier. We don't know. The same with Ken Hinkley with that handover. If Fremantle are out of the fight for whatever reason, halfway, he won't be there, and neither will Ken.
But they're coming for.
But if they're there, you got a chance.
They're coming for Ken already. And that decision. David King's come out and wrote a good piece, and I agree with him. I was with some mid-level sponsors of the Dockers yesterday. There's not much love for the coach, I can tell you that.
Oh no! Well, but Kingy's got Fremantle in the top 4. So as I said, it's all subjective opinion. You know what I mean? And it rolls and it changes. The emotions change from week to week on the roller coaster. So as I say, just sit back and let's see how the next 6 or 7 weeks pan out. And as we said, Collingwood were gone last week and they're back now. So in 1 week. So let's see where it goes. But from my point of view, I was always worried about that. So whose fault was it last night? Was it Ken's? Are they not listening to Ken? Or was it Josh? Was it Josh's game? Who's taking responsibility? That's the issue you've got going forward. And I always have that problem. I just couldn't work it out why they did that. I'm never convinced that Ken's happy with this handover. I don't think he minds handing over at the end of the year, but it was just the timing was all wrong. They've set themselves up to fail, as Fremantle have done with Justin in regards to giving that rolling contract, so to speak, going on to staff. Because it doesn't insulate you from criticism, because it's going to come. If you're 2-5, guess what? Watch out.
Jim Pommy Pie here. Morning, boys. He's up and about, Jim Pommy Pie. That was absolutely awesome. Sadly, my small bet for Freo to be the last undefeated side lost. Yeah, you got rid of that one out very quickly, Jim. I missed the old pull-through on Friday night from you, Jim. Enjoy seeing the Bombers go down in Carlton yesterday. Pies coming strong this weekend. Yeah, well, they were good. Horse to follow trio, according to Jim Pommy Pie there as well. Okay, here we go. This is from Rusty Gates. He's good. Hi, Brad, Marty. The decision to allow Shai Bolton to play in the All-Star Indigenous game before the opening AFL round when he was carrying a niggle, to me, is a very puzzling decision, and one that didn't help his chances of playing in the opening round. Makes me wonder if it was a Fremantle decision or an AFL decision to allow him to play. The other question is, would have Murphy Reid played if Bolton was fit to play, and would he have kicked 4 goals or more? On both counts, I think probably not.
Yeah, no, I agree with Rusty. I'm on the record with the boys on the breakfast that, I said that Fremantle should have made the call that he shouldn't have played in the All-Stars game purely and simply on his value to this team. And he's coming back. He's got enough pressure on him as it is. Now, what would have happened, Marty? I'm not saying that happened in that game, but the inflammation would have begun. In that game.
Yep.
And then he went and played at Mandurah, and the inflammation has now manifested itself into something a little bit worse than it should have been. Now, they're saying he could be next week. Well, we don't know if he's going to be next week. We'll have to wait and see. But, from my point of view, when your muscles and your sinews and your tendons and all that start overcompensating because you've got a little niggle, that you should have been addressing and should have had in the first place. I mean, of course he wanted to play. The AFL wouldn't have made that call, Rusty. It wouldn't have had anything to do with the AFL. I'm sure that Shai wanted to play with the rest of the brothers, but Fremantle should have leaned hard on him and just said, no. You're not playing.
Yep.
You should have. You're staying in the sheds until next week.
I was driving around on Monday listening to Drive. The boys put on a great show too, and one of the texters, this is Monday, last Monday, said that Bolton has got a little fracture. And that he'd be out. So it was a prophetic call on Monday, and it was true. Whether or not it is a fracture or it's muscular or whatever, I don't know. But it was on the money because no one else was spruiking it at that time.
Clearly on the outside of the shin. He tried to train the other day and had it strapped up in that particular area. And,
hot spot.
I don't know. Hot spots, yeah. Apparently he'd been cleared by scans, but as I say, you don't know, because I know even with the Cricket of the Wild thing playing over there, Morris, Cricket Australia are convinced he's got a hot spot, but he can't feel it. Mm-hmm. So who do you trust? You got to go, I suppose, to the medicos, and they've got the call. But I'm sure if he had a hot spot or a slight fracture, and as soon as you hear the word fracture, you think the worst. Broken, fracture, all that sort of stuff. Then they can be minuscule sometimes, and sometimes you need an MRI to find them.
Okay, Friday night it was Hawthorn, top of the table, 2 wins from 2 games, and they were too good for Essendon. They won 17-9, 111, 12-13, 85. After a 6-goal-to-1 first quarter, it looked like it could have been a huge win coming up for the Hawks. I think Essendon stuck to their task, but they got the same problems in the same places. And if you can pay Ben Mackay $1 million, oh my goodness!
To punch the ball.
Wow.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. I'm worried. I cannot, for the life of me, as I said to the boys the other day, James Hurd's coming. He and Sheedy, they're behind it. There could be a possible coup going forward, down the track.
Again.
And that's why that. That's what they want. They can't understand why Brad Scott's been extended. There was no need to extend him. He was contract till the end of next year anyway. But it's again a way of insulating them from the fire. The president's there till the end of 27. The coach is now there till the end of 27. So you see what they're trying to do. And Hurdy's down at Port Melbourne at the moment, and I think he's got the desire to come out and coach. And the word on the street, he's got the support of Sheedy, so who's just left the board at Essendon, as we know. So it's something to keep an eye on. It's not going to happen tomorrow, but it should have been like Ross Lyon, like Justin Longmuir, like Luke Beveridge, like Ken Hinkley and like Matthew Nix. It should have been decided. The coaching future should have been decided on results this year.
Correct. I just want to talk about Hawthorn. They remind me a lot of that West Coast 92-94 side with their kick-in. If you allow them to get that first kick-in to a mark, you're gone. They'll go up the other end and kick a goal. So you've got to chop the head of the snake off early. So the forwards have to put on that defensive pressure, and they have to be alert at all times to make sure that they make it hard. And to be fair, on occasions in the second half, they did it pretty well. And all of a sudden, when Hawthorn have got to kick out long to that wing, it becomes a different Hawthorn. And the other thing I'll say about them, Brad, they don't score a lot of goals from their midfield at the centre clearance.
No, they don't. 1 in 4 kickouts too from Hawthorn, as you saw. They try and be a little bit predictable, try and drag everybody to one side. Like
and then do the impy trick. Yep.
And then do the impy trick, send him out, kick it long. But Sicily has to be the executor of that, and it worked.
Yep.
So they keep you guessing. You're absolutely right there. Look, they just did what they had to do. They got the job done. Their little blokes got involved this week, Ginnivan and the Wizard and all that sort of stuff. They were as cold as pies last week. So from that point of view, they're going to be one of the front runners. There's no doubt. And I thought your boys toiled enough, but again, they're going to have to rely on beating a lot of teams in or around them, a little bit like Collingwood to have any show of making the 8 come the end of the year.
Geelong at home, 23-9, 147. Dockers 10-9, 69.
Yeah, well, it looked like they were still wiping the sleet out of their eyes. Fremantle, some of them were there initially at this early stages. The usual suspects, Sarong, Brayshaw put their nose over the footy early. Jackson had a bit of a crack in the second quarter. The kid went mad in the third quarter, which was great. But other than that, they were well. They worked out Luke Ryan, absolutely sat on him, punished him. Couldn't get the ball, only got him from kick-ins. They were able to share the ball around. Their array of goal kickers was fantastic. They were harder, they were tougher, they were unrelenting. Smith joined up really, really well with that midfield of Holmes. Dangerfield went out of his way to bring him into the game. Yeah, so it was what it was, and they steadied. Once Fremantle had a bit of a lick at the ice cream there in the third quarter, virtuoso by the kid. 10 goals in the last quarter, seriously. And, Justin didn't help himself. He didn't help himself in post-game. He said we weren't hard enough, we weren't tough enough, and I didn't prepare him properly. Well, how long have we saying? You're in your 6th year, mate.
Yep.
You've had a bit of practice.
Game of the round, Sydney Swans and Brisbane Lions. This was a very big win for Brisbane when you consider what went wrong, and they were still able to win it. Sydney 12-10, 82. They were better. And Brisbane Lions 12-14, 86.
Yeah, I liked it. I like Brisbane, as you know, and I had them to win. It got a bit hair-raising there towards the end, and again, the usual suspects. Sydney were better. As I say, Coxie will get this team very, very competitive. I just don't know how far. I mean, now they've got to go to your way next week and play Freo. So, that's not going to be... They're going to be wanting to bounce back. Normally you can back Sydney anywhere. You know they're going to compete at Marvel, MCG, Optus, at the Adelaide Oval, up at the Gabba. I'm not so sure we've got that same surety about them at the moment. But Coxie's eagerly searching for that first win. But Brisbane did nothing to deter us from thinking they're going to be top 4 this year. They're going to keep winning and winning comfortably at home. And if they can pinch a few like they did yesterday on the road, watch out.
Oh, they had a poor preparation because of the cyclone. They had nowhere to train. They lose Lohman in the run. Starcevic, another concussion. That's a real worry.
Yeah, it's not good.
A real worry. But they're still able to beat Sydney. I think that task of coming over to beat Fremantle at home now is probably not as daunting as it looked before that match yesterday. Western Bulldogs 17-11, 113. North Melbourne were plucky, 14-13, 97.
Yeah, it was. I know this sounds mundane, but it is what it is. I mean, the Dogs clearly jumped them. North took a little while to get into gear. The Dogs fell at times for the 3-card trick, wanted to continue to take liberties of Cribben forward because they were in front on the scoreboard. North started a challenge, and then some of the wiser heads of the Bulldogs got them back in. Ed Richards, Liberatore, Norton, Darcy, etc. They did enough to make sure that they kept ahead and kept winning the game. In the end, it was a 16-point result. They'll take that. It's not ideal, but as we said, what's going to happen for the Bulldogs is they have to try and just stay alive, for the next 4 or 5 weeks. If they can split 50-50, Marty, and then they get Bontempelli and Jones and Treloar and a few others coming back in the door, they might have to make a similar sort of a run that they did last year, winning, 11 out of their last 15.
What about the injuries out of this game? I haven't watched any of the vision of it, but James O'Donnell, it says a jaw, Cleary a head. There was some sort of a head collision there, wasn't there? An Archer a leg?
Accident. Yeah, accidental. That one on O'Donnell, got him flush on the chin. The interesting one with Arch, because, obviously I'm good friends with his old man, but the bottom line, I don't like that one. I really don't. I'm going to be very, very interested to see where that is, who they're going to apportion the blame to. There's blame on both sides, but Luke Cleary clearly had the run at the ball. He went down, head down, and Arch, his kid came in, and I think should have avoided the contact.
Right.
Should have avoided stayed upright, didn't go down, but, just clocked him straight on the straight. It's dangerous. That is a dangerous one. We've got to be very, very careful about that. The same with Toby Green the other day. I don't know how he escaped penalty. I just don't get it.
Yep.
I know. I've been there. You can become Rudolph Nurea when you want to, Marty. I tell you, out there.
Yep.
Quicker, sharp, and both, I think, Archer and Green both could have avoided the contact they made.
Collingwood 21-10, 136. Biggest loss for Kenny Hinkley in his coaching career, 6-9-45, 91 points.
Yeah, well, everything went wrong for Collingwood last week, went right, but they didn't have much opposition, and I say we were concerned about Port coming in, but we didn't see this. We didn't, a bit like Fremantle, didn't see them getting flogged like that. But they talk about coach killers, and but the whole thing, what has been going on? How can you prepare for 6 months, some injuries and all that, I'll give it all that, and come out and perform like that in your first game? I just don't get it. I mean, it's, as we say, Marty, it's 95% preparation. So something is missing clearly there. Maybe there's distractions. I don't know. Who are they listening to? But at least Collingwood bounced back. At least they had some fire in their belly because they needed to after an insipid performance the week before. Side bottom 31, memory kick 4. Mychek got a few goals. All the blokes who didn't perform last week got amongst it. Dacos and the Dacos boys hit back really strongly, particularly Nick. So after being cramping up and ankle, it was a really, really solid win to Collingwood. They'll be happy, but the job's not over. They're going to still continue on. And well, for Port, I'm not sure where they go next week. I think they go. Where do they go next week? I think they've got Richmond. So if they don't beat Richmond, there'll be blood on the table.
Oh yeah, certainly will. Got to address this text from Snoz. Morning, boys. The question I asked regarding stats in AFL. Only one winning team this week had more kicks and handballs than their opposition. All other winning sides had less possessions. So I again say to you guys, the only stat that counts is the scoreboard. Why do clubs spend so much time on stats? What they should be pumping into these players is pressure on opposition and doing the one percenters. That's from Snoz.
No, I agree with Snoz. As I say, it's like racing. It's like everything else. As I say, sectionals and all that sort of stuff. Every race is different. Every game's different. And you've got to see, Geelong yesterday, Fremantle's numbers weren't bad. clearance. They were sort of certainly competitive in that regard. But they got absolutely smashed in one area, Snoz, Fremantle yesterday, and that was tackles inside 50. Unbelievable.
Yep.
Where they just didn't put the pressure on. They kept the ball in there. And as I say, and Geelong played a turnover game. You turn it over, Fremantle will hurt you going back the other way. That's the style of play they can do. The good teams can do that, and the good teams can have a balance of that at any given time in one game. They can... they can control the contested ball in one quarter and then go rebound turnover football in the second quarter. So, yeah, I agree with you. And this is the problem with football today, is that the bar has been set too low. Everybody who goes out there goes into self-preservation mode, particularly when you're getting the bejesus kicked out of you. Oh, I'm going to get pumped with my 28. At least I've done my job. No, you haven't.
Yep.
It's too much stat orientated. And anybody, I don't play fantasy football, Marty. I know you don't either. But the ruckmen seem to get a point for every touch they get. And you think, well, they had no effect on the game. Yet they come up the top of the ratings of those sort of things. It's bullish.
Okay, just on Geelong as well, having a look at their draw, the two teams that they play twice that are any good are Brisbane and GWS. They're playing Port, Essendon, St Kilda and Richmond twice. And then their games down... They could well finish on top. 3 games to look at today. Just give us the winners and we'll tune in half an hour before these games for your bets. Adelaide, St Kilda, Adelaide?
Yeah, Adelaide should be winning that.
A bit of rain about in Melbourne, is that right? That changed this game, Melbourne and GWS?
Changes the Grand Prix too, a little bit, because of a dry, fast track. It was going to be, anything could be happening now, going to 370 k's an hour with oil slicks and whatever. Mm-hmm. Look, I'm going to stick with the Giants. I really like it. I think they're well prepared. I think they can get it done this afternoon.
And West Coast, Gold Coast over here?
I'm going with Gold Coast, so I'm still concerned that Waterman may not play. Not sure. I know he's been cleared to play, but that doesn't mean anything. So I'll keep an eye on that one. I think the Gold Coast, I think he's finally got them ready. They have to win on the road. So this is a must-win for the Gold Coast.
Okay, finally we need to catch up with Lisa of Allen, Brooke, Brad, Sophie, Marty. Interesting results in the AFL starting on Thursday night. Richmond, Carlton. Brad, as you always say, games are won on grass, not on screens or paper, and the Tigers proved that their self-belief, confidence and trust grew brilliant. Port Adelaide, putrid, pathetic, insipid. Where to for Hinkley? Geelong, too old, too slow, but too smart for Freo. Always so much of the same with Freo when pressure literally goes on and their own self-generated pressure of expectations. If you talk to talk, you have to walk the walk. Longmuir says he's got a lot to get his head around. They weren't tough enough. That's an understatement. Hope the Eagles do that to the Suns. What Richmond did to Carlton. Have a great weekend, day and week. Cheers, Lisa. Thanks for your text.
Yeah, well, one of the host of good points there. But the one point I did express yesterday, and I couldn't believe it, that everybody could see that 15-metre kicks weren't being paid. Yes. They weren't paying the mark. It had to be 17, 18, closer to 20. And clubs are still asleep at the wheel. They just concede. Whereas Geelong yesterday with Fremantle, they didn't concede anything, and that's why they kept turning the football over on them. Fremantle were asleep at the wheel yesterday. They weren't the only team that didn't get onto it. And hopefully West Coast can do that today, because Gold Coast will knock the ball around. And just because they do, doesn't mean that you shouldn't put pressure on and try to turn and force a turnover, because the umpires aren't going to pay kicks that they don't believe have travelled 15 or more metres.
Bradley, the Sunday saviour for Retrovision Loans 1, 2, 3. And what about Ross's auction?
Oh, they're beauty, mate. We're loading up here today. Don't worry about that. Sunny Coast Race 1, number 3. I agree with our man, Chrissy Nelson. Yep. Annie, they're ready. $1.95 there. They're going to Canamble. Race 6, number 1, San Zero. So it's $2.90, Marty, there. And then we'll go back to the Sunny Coast Race 7, number 3, El Jasor, $2.25. Sunny Coast Race 1, number 3. Coonabarra Band Race 6, number 1, and then back to the Sunny Coast Race 7, number 3. That is $12.72 for me and Ginger today. So many thanks to Mort's Retrovision. He's an absolute champ. The photos above your head, Marty. I know you look at it every time I say that. And then, of course, you've got the Nude Nut, 1-800-100-100. And don't forget Frankie Lee, you champion. He's all over the WA as well. Marty?
We'll listen in tomorrow morning on the Sports Daily. Thanks, Brad.
Cheers, pal.
You're listening to the Sunday Aftermath on Tab Radio Racing and Sports.
Chris Pike's talking NBL. What a game we've got ahead of us today. Hi, Chris.
Yeah, hi Marty. Yeah, we've got to game 3. We're at 1-1, so it's all very nicely placed.
Can we go back to Wednesday? Was that one of the hardest, toughest, most exciting games of NBL I think I've ever seen?
Yeah, it was a terrific game. We spoke just before it, and we were expecting Melbourne United to bring the physicality once again, and the Illawarra Hawks had to match them after losing game 1, and they certainly did. And I mean, we talked about the point spread as well, and both teams got to 100 points, so they were able to put up the points. But yeah, it was physical. It was exciting, and then you just look at the last 10.4 seconds of the game. So we get Ian Clark fouled by Tyler Harvey, and he goes to make all 3 free throws to put Melbourne in front. And then we see Tyler Harvey up the other end hit a massive 3. It's almost become a trademark of his, and he hits it in the face of Ian Clark. And then as time runs out, Chris Golden gets a really good look, and his 3 is probably 75% down. It almost rattled in for Melbourne to win the game, but somehow it just tipped out and the Hawks win. And yeah, it was an amazing game. And then just in the last 10 seconds alone, it gave you your money's worth. So I think it's turned out well that we're now at 1-1 after the way the first 2 games have played.
You summed that up so succinctly. And getting back to Clark when he had to take those 3 points. If you could have had a bet with a bookie that he was going to nail all 3, and there was pressure on because they were behind at that point, weren't they? So you had to get all 3 to get back in front. That's how it was, wasn't it? Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
yeah, they were
just reading his body language. I loved it. He was so confident that he'd nail all those 3, and he did. And then in the post-game interview with Harvey, how he actually said, "Thank God that I was given the chance to redeem myself after fouling Clark like I did, to take that 3-pointer with, as you said, Clark in his face and nail it." It was a huge moment in the game to put them in front.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that foul where Harvey did foul Clark, I mean, it was probably a shot that it's very rare that you're going to be able to block a shot from behind like that when a guy's shooting a 3 and not fouling. So,
correct.
So it was a mistake by Tyler to foul him there, and you're right, Ian Clark never for a second looked like missing any of those 3 foul shots. I mean, we've seen the troubles one of his teammates has had at the foul line, Jack White. He doesn't look like being able to make a free throw right now because he's so out of confidence. But yeah, I don't think any of those 3 shots from Clark even touched the rim. They were all pure net, and I guess that shows his experience. He's an NBA championship winner. He's an NBL championship winner, and that's why you have these sort of guys on your team. But you're right. It actually gave Tyler Harvey that extra bit of motivation. He knew that he screwed up with that foul, and he knew that he had to make up for it. And as soon as they went into that timeout, I'm sure that the first, second, and third plan was always to get the ball to Tyler Harvey in some way, and it ended up perfect for him where he was isolated on that half of the floor, and he was just left to make a move on Ian Clark. And that shot from him never looked like missing either. It couldn't have been in anyone's better hands for the Hawks either. And to have that added motivation of fouling Clark a few seconds later, I'm sure meant that he had that little bit of a redemption feeling as well.
So in those last dying seconds at 100-102, which ended up being the final score, would they be better off letting Dellavedova take one of those 2-pointers? He could have almost got a shot in, then he decided to throw it back out. That's how it played out, didn't he, to Goulding? Get it to 102 and go to overtime?
Yeah, it was interesting. So Dean Vickerman, the Melbourne coach, spoke after the game where the Hawks did a really good job of blowing up the play that Melbourne was trying to run. So what Melbourne was trying to run on that last version didn't end up happening. So they had a play drawn up, but the Hawks stopped them being able to do that, and it ended up with Daly, like you said, just throwing the ball to Goulding, and Goulding had to jack up that 3-pointer, which wasn't the plan, but Goulding's still so good that he almost makes it as well. But yeah, it wasn't the plan, and Dean Vickerman did talk about how the play that they initially had drawn up had a plan for it to be a 2-point attempt that was what they were initially looking for. So yeah, so what they ended up taking wasn't what was drawn up. So usually you think if you're the home team and you've got the momentum like they did, because Melbourne had come back from being 11 points down at 3/4 time, they had the momentum. So I think they would have been happy to go to overtime, and they would have backed themselves to win in overtime. So I think their plan was to go for a 2-pointer, but credit to the Hawks for the defence that they played that stopped them, I guess, getting to what they wanted to run.
Okay, Hawks 136, Melbourne 315. 6.5 is the line for this game that gets underway. I think it's 2:30 this afternoon. So yes, 2:30.
Yes.
Is there a doubt over Illy in this match?
No, he's been ruled out, so he's out of this game, and you have to think that he's very doubtful to play again this series, and to me that completely changes everything for this series. I think the Hawks win today, and if Shea isn't able to play on Wednesday night, then I think the Hawks wrap it up on Wednesday night in Game 4 as well, because I think he's not Melbourne's best player, but he is Melbourne's most important player because he's so good defensively. We saw what he did with Bryce Cotton in that first series, and we saw what he did in Game 1 when he's out there. Tyler Harvey and Trey Kell are not the same players when he's out there to defend them. In the second half of Game 2, that's when Harvey and Kell got going, and they didn't have Shea annoying them. So he's also a really good point guard. He gets the shots for Chris Golding and Ian Clark, and he runs their offense. So yeah, it's really unfortunate. He copped a stray elbow from Dave O'Hickey in the second quarter of that game too. Initially, they said that he did pass his concussion test, so he was able to come back from that point of view, but he didn't come back in the second half, and now he has been ruled out today. So,
okay.
I think that absolutely turns things in the favour of the Hawks. So, to be honest, I don't know if Melbourne can win another game without Shea Illy. So it probably is the thing that we look back on as the deciding factor in this series, I think.
So Illawarra to win this game, do they cover the 6.5?
Yeah, they might. They might go home with a real point to prove today. They might go home and put a lot of points on the board, and Melbourne just won't be able to go with them. So I think they might have a pretty big win today, I think, and it'll be a lot tougher going back to Melbourne on Wednesday night. But yeah, for today, I think they'll cover that point spread.
Hey, Chris, thanks for coming on the Aftermath today. We'll talk on Drive on Wednesday before Game 4 gets underway.
I look forward to it. Thanks, Marty.
Jean 4 lengths off her. There's 6 lengths to Zardozi, Care Tempesta. Pride of Jenny comes around the corner. She's been in this situation plenty of times at the 250. She's still 3 or 4 lengths, Jean and Zardozi. Pride of Jenny below the 200 metres. 4 lengths in front. Zardozi's finishing hard, but it's Pride of Jenny. She's back. It's the spectacular. Pride of Jenny wins it by 2.5 lengths and a big fist pump from Froggy. Zardozi second.
Oh, I love that. A big fist pump from Froggy joins us right now. G'day, Craig.
Morning, mate.
How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Oh, you would have loved that. And I said earlier on, we talked to Racetrack, Ralphy and a few others. You are the perfect jockey for this horse.
Yeah, we get on really well. I've only had the 2 sits on an hour race day, so it's a win and very close second, so hopefully there's many more wins in store.
Obviously, must have been some sort of apprehension going in for it to come back in those circumstances, and 1,800 metres first up. So first off, kudos to Kira Ma for turning her out in such good and fine fettle.
Yeah, absolutely. He knows this mare inside out, as does Tony, who just was the one overall, mate, that decided to put his backside on the line and bring her back into work when many people advised him not to. But he knows what she likes to do, and that is get out and run. So he put her back into work. And look, leading into yesterday, we kept it under wraps as much as we could, but we were very confident going there that the 1,800 was no issue. The thing with Kieran and his stable, what they do. This mare wouldn't walk out of a box without having a test done on it, whether it's a lactate test or a whatever it is. So they knew exactly where her fitness was and what she was capable of doing, and I knew how good she was going just through riding her in her jump out and her gallop. So you mix those combinations together. The only thing that was going to stop her yesterday was me falling off her. So I strapped myself in and enjoyed the ride.
I reckon it's about the 700 or just coming up to the 600. Actually, the replay's up on the screen now as we talk. But you started to get a bit serious then, and all of a sudden the horses behind you were gasping for oxygen. It must have been a terrific feeling.
It is. It's as me and Kieran said to Tony pre-race, we said all we've basically got to do with this mare is get her first 800 metres under control. We get that under control and she's not gone too quick. Once you get to the 900, even the 1,000 metre, you just let her go. You just loosen the reins on her and just let her gallop. And she's proven time and time again now that she can run sectionals that other horses over this sort of distance can't run, and she can run it for a sustained period of time, which is where she wins at races. She busts everyone else sort of mid-sectionals, and by the time they're turned for home, everything's out on their feet. She doesn't go any faster, but she just doesn't weaken. She just doesn't stop. I think her sectional between the 1,400 and the 1,200 was nearly identical to what she ran from the 200 to the winning post. So if she's able to do that over that period of time, it's no wonder that there's big margins. Like yesterday, there's 6 horses in it. There would have been 400 metres from first to last.
Yep.
She does what other athletes can't do, and she can do it for a sustained period of time, which sets her apart from any other horse.
So put yourself in the shoes of Jamie Mellum then on Zardozi. It becomes a case of, well, when do I go? Doesn't it? And it must make it very difficult for those back in the field to just get that right for when they can put their horse into the race to run you down.
Correct. Jamie, to be fair, I thought Jamie rode her horse well, but Jamie just didn't have a horse to be able to cart her into the race.
Yeah.
When Jenny's kryptonite is when there's a big field and there's 2 or 3 other horses that not so much be pacemakers for other horses, but set the gap between Jenny and her main rivals is not as big. So, like Mr. Brightside, he would quiver every time Jenny's nominated for the same race because his racing patterns race up on speed, but Jenny has him at his top the whole way. His acceleration's taken away from him. So the small field really suited us yesterday. And the thing with Jenny now is she's starting to get to a point where she's starting to scare opposition away because they may run well, but they don't come out of the race as well as what she does because she just pulls up so well, whereas other horses, it takes them a lot longer to get over. And as we know, with the autumn carnival, even the spring carnival, there's not that big a gap between runs for these horses. So they're flattening their horses trying to beat her, but can't.
Is she going to the Australian Cup?
As far as I know, she is going to the Australian Cup. I haven't spoke to the team yet of how she's pulled up, but I would presume I think she pulled up better than I did yesterday. My arms are about 6 inches longer, but I think she pulled up extremely well after yesterday. So I would presume she would go there, but at the end of the day, that's Tony and Kieran's call. So wherever she will go, you will see Newitt alongside her.
Okay. Craig, if she goes to the Australian Cup and Deny Knowledge is in that race, does that pose a problem?
That poses a big problem to Deny Knowledge because Deny Knowledge is a horse that basically only wins when she's able to scruff hold of a race and dictate and run her sectionals. Whereas I can guarantee you Deny Knowledge is not going to be able to carve out the sectionals Jenny runs for this period of time. She may be able to sit in my slipstream and get a drag along, but I know when the hammer's down and the pressure comes on, I know which horse I'd rather be in the corner of. So I rode Deny Knowledge in a Caulfield Cup. Yes, it was a mile and a half, not a mile and a quarter, but she had pressure put on her a fair way out and wasn't able to cope with it. So a race like the Australian Cup, now we've had a run under our belt, we're going to be so much fitter, so much more forward. I would think Deny Knowledge would be a little worrying.
Foggy, we've got to get moving. One more guest, Peter the Package O'Neill, comes up before 8 o'clock to talk greyhound racing. Thanks for coming on the Aftermath today, and how good was that yesterday? It was fantastic.
My pleasure. Thanks, guys.
There he goes, Craig Newitt. Pete O'Neill is up next. Have a listen to this for a replay.
They're ready. Racing in the Galaxy. They almost came out as one up on the inside. Heather's Pick tries to show early speed along with Miss Ronnie Mack, and crossing them, Groove Bird finds the top. Groove Bird goes in the lead in second place. Miss Ronnie Mack might have been around the outside, covering some extra turf. Then followed by Flaws and Sins around the outside. Ethanol Water. Heather's Pick got checked. Bumped there with Black Silencer. And last of all was Full of Regrets as they go to the back. And Groove Bird, the Victorian, leads by 2. In second, Miss Ronnie Mack. And then followed, making ground, Ethanol Water up on the inside of Might Have Been. Well back behind them, Flaws and Sins. Black Silencer off the back, and it's Groove Bird still the leader by 1. Here comes Ethanol Water around the outside of Miss Ronnie Mack in the straight. Groove Bird, Ethanol Water's coming. Groove Bird, Ethanol Water lunges, got up. Ethanol Water, the last strider's nailed Groove Bird right on the line. It's tight though. Third goes the way of Miss Ronnie Mack. Behind
Peter, welcome along to the Aftermath. And first off, what a night it was. The Galaxy in the Perth Cup, and congratulations. That was a ripping call.
Thanks, Marty. Good morning to you. Good morning, everyone. Yes, a half-head split, Ethanol Water and Groove Bird, 2 outstanding chasers that combined have made 15 Group 1 finals. It's great to see the quality of greyhounds across here in Perth for our carnival. We don't see it often enough, and it was an outstanding training performance by both Jeff Britton and also Tom Daly, and Tom Daly took the honours last night. Ethanol Water, who's now won in excess of $460,000 in stake money, and it was a remarkable win to be able to pick up the other Victorian Groove Bird right on the line. Yeah, they always appeared to be the two, didn't they, going in? And you spotted Ethanol Water making that run just before the home bend. And for a moment there, it looked like it just wasn't going to get there, and on the line lunge to get up and win. Yeah, I didn't know whether or not she would get there or not because Groove Bird's a very, very talented chaser that's been racing in outstanding form, ran second in the Zoom Top recently, and was very unlucky in the Phantom Bar. But yeah, it was really an outstanding run by Ethanol Water to get up in the last stride to score. And the greyhound that's now, as I mentioned, won $460,000 in stake money. And it was a big night for the Victorians because Deadly Avenger took out the 50th running of the Sky Racing Perth Cup after getting underneath of another Victorian, Morton, and Tommy Shelby's 2 sons, which were in the care of Steve Withers for the last 3 or 4 weeks, were able to quinella the race after Tommy Shelby also signed the winner of last year's winner in Uncle Tommy. So he's going well, isn't he, Tommy? He certainly is. Judge wasn't required for the Group 1 Sky Racing Perth Cup final. Here's the call.
Can do no more now. The green light is on. The tab touch box is loaded for the Perth Cup final. Racing, Deadly Avenger came out quickly along with Morton showing early speed. Coming across was Rare Speed from out wide. Morton's going to lead in second place. Deadly Avenger, Miss Envy got across to third. Then followed by Vincent Bale in behind them. Boracay Summer, Maximum Kuna. Rare Speed's last of all. Morton leads down the back by 1. Deadly Avenger trying to push up on the inside. 5 lengths away was Miss Envy. Then followed by Vincent Bale off the back. Deadly Avenger right underneath of Morton. The 2 sons of Tommy Shelby swing together. And Deadly Avenger race away and wins the Perth Cup final. Morton second, Miss Envy third, then followed by... Well, there it is. Deadly Avenger beating Morton. Miss Envy making ground up into third, Pete. The scratching of Mapunga Tully. What happened there? Yeah, she, unfortunately, when she was taken out of the kennels at around about 4 o'clock, she'd injured herself earlier in the day. So disappointment for Barry Smith and also Jeff Britton. Jeff had finished second and third in last year's Cup and had the favourite this year. But she came out, it opened up the race, and once Morton led, I thought he was going to be hard to run down, but he just moved off the fence going down the back straight, and Deadly Avenger took that run, and it was outstanding. And a lot of respect for Steve Withers, who handled both of the greyhounds from their Victorian connections when they sent them across. And, you know, it just goes to show the respect of a trainer that he is, and Deadly Avenger won. Miss Envy was a little bit unlucky. She got dragged down on the first corner. She was full of merit to run third ahead of another Victorian in Vincent Bale. But outstanding night, good crowd on course, and I thought the coverage was really good for WA Greyhound Racing to see the quality of greyhounds from the East Coast. And now all eyes will be turning the attention to the Sandgroper, and does Deadly Avenger and Morton gain a slot now. So it's starting to take shape, and we're about 4 weeks away from that great race. So do you think they will? Well, Deadly Avenger definitely has to get a slot. The question is going to be whether the owner accepts the slot because of the Golden Easter Egg, which is going to clash with the Sandgroper. And Morton,
I was surprised he got run down last night. He's getting a little bit older, but still the fact that he's got that early speed, he was able to run with or go early with Crumble Manelli a couple of starts before, just goes to show his early speed. And early speed at Cannington, if there's trouble behind you, then it's always puts you in a handy position. So I'd definitely be giving Morton a slot as well. Miss Envy's already got a slot there. And Orico Summers one, I know she needs to draw a box, but she'd be one that I'd be looking at as well to be a runner in the Sandgrove. There's only 3 slots have been filled so far, so it'll be interesting where the next 5 go to. Yeah,
Morton's had a wonderful campaign over here. He won 2 in that second last night for Steve Withers since transferring over. Pete, well done. The coverage leading into the 2 big races last night. You couldn't have done any more for that, and thanks for coming on the Aftermath this morning.
Thank you, Marty, and good job this morning.
Thanks, mate.